What's up, YouTube? I am the Vanilla Nerd, and today I want to talk about the 4 very small teaser trailers that we got for Avengers Doomsday over the last 4 weeks. The 4th one just dropped this past Tuesday, and I'm excited to talk about it. Now, if you don't want any spoilers for this movie and want to go in completely blind, then get out now, because I will be talking about those trailers and what they could mean for this movie. However, if you, like me, are excited and don't mind just a few teasers, then that's fine, because these really are teasers. Like, if you're worried about plot details being revealed, do not worry. These trailers do not reveal any plot details. It's actually something I like about them, but we'll get more into that. Anyway, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I have included links to all 4 trailers in the description of this video, so go watch the trailers before you watch this video, because I'm just going to jump right in and assume that you know what I'm talking about when I reference trailer 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I will be talking about them in the order that they were released. So, spoiler warning for all the trailers of Doomsday, and also a minor spoiler warning for the general state of the MCU. If you haven't seen Fantastic Four First Steps, if you haven't seen Thunderbolts, if you haven't seen Captain America 4, if you haven't seen Black Panther Wakanda Forever, you might want to get out now, because I'll be talking about those movies. However, if you haven't seen them and you don't care to see them, then great, stick around. I'll talk about how they might relate to this movie a little bit. So yeah, anyway, spoiler warning for those movies as well as for the first 4 trailers. Let's get into this. So before I get into the trailers, I want to specify what this video will be, because I'm going to be keeping this very surface level and only talking about what I liked and what I didn't like about these trailers. I will discuss what we can directly infer based off what we see in the trailer, but I won't go too deep into my speculative predictions for Avengers Doomsday. That will be the next video, and depending on the accuracy of my predictions, might be more or less spoilery. Regardless, let's jump into these trailers. What did I like? What did I not like? Starting with trailer number 1. I liked this trailer, even though it wasn't that exciting, and it kind of dragged a little long for the big reveal, but it is a trailer, so it has the right to build up that tension, and I think it works. Either way, I'm glad that they showed us Captain America in this first trailer, so that we, the audience, can have like 12 months to get accustomed to that idea. Because of course, like everyone else, I am very skeptical of Captain America returning. He had a fantastic arc throughout the entirety of the MCU, and had one of the most satisfying conclusions to his story in Avengers Endgame, and I really don't want them to ruin that. However, Chris Evans has said multiple times that he'd only come back if it was the right story, so I am trusting him, as well as the Russo brothers who are directing this movie and have directed many Captain America movies. I mean, they effectively generated the arc for his character to go on and wrote the conclusion for his character to end on. Hence, I am trusting the creators. So rather than worrying about what his reappearance might take away from Captain America's story, I am cautiously looking forward to what it might add to his character. Because unlike Robert Downey Jr., who is coming back as a completely different character, Chris Evans is coming back as Steve Rogers, as Captain America. So that'll be interesting. But obviously the other big reveal is that he's holding a baby. And I think this very clearly points us to what Captain America will be doing that is new, i.e. he will be a parent. And as long as they don't follow the trope of an excellent hero but a terrible parent who has to learn to reconnect with their child over basic communication struggles, I think we'll be okay. Really, the only question I have after this is just how many Captain America themed heroes will there be in Avengers Doomsday? Because by my count, we're currently at like 6. And make no mistakes, Steve Rogers is going to suit up as Captain America again. I don't think you show the suit in the first trailer if you're not planning on having him don the suit one more time. Moving on to trailer number 2. I loved this trailer right out of the gate. There is so much to appreciate. First, Chris Hemsworth is back to his Infinity War look, which is easily his greatest outing as Thor. Secondly, he's holding Stormbreaker proudly, unlike whatever nonsense he was going through in Thor Love and Thunder, where he and the Axe were having relationship issues. Yeah, Love and Thunder was a weird movie. Thirdly, his prayer was very serious and very powerful. He is not going to be the silly, goofy guy from Love and Thunder, and that makes me so happy. I know a lot of that goofiness started back in Ragnarok, and I love Ragnarok. I really do. But even Ragnarok was pushing the boundary. This version definitely feels like it's connected to Infinity War and hence to serious Thor. And it's not like he was not funny in Infinity War. He had some very funny moments, but they weren't goofy. They were just comical. And that's what I want. Regardless, the fourth thing that I want to highlight about this trailer that I absolutely love is the fact that Thor is no longer discovering himself. Hallelujah. If nothing else, this prayer was a clear statement of what Thor wants. He knows what he wants out of life, and I could not be more grateful. He doesn't want to be a warrior. He wants to come back from this battle unscarred and be a good father. And I love that. I think that is an excellent journey for his character to go on, and I'm so excited for Thor's role in Avengers Doomsday. On to trailer number 3. So, this trailer was a bit disappointing because there was nothing really surprising or unexpected about it. Trailer 1, it was very surprising to see Chris Evans return as Captain America. And in trailer 2, while not surprising, it was very unexpected that Thor would return in his Infinity War look. But with this trailer, everything was kind of how I expected it. Charles Xavier and Eric Lehnsherr are still friends, still playing chess. Cyclops was in his comic-accurate suit, which admittedly was awesome, don't get me wrong, but after the massive success of Deadpool and Wolverine, along with the positive responses to Fantastic Four First Steps and Superman 2025, I'm not surprised that he had a comic-accurate suit. In fact, I dare say I expected them to give him a comic-accurate Cyclops uniform. It's still awesome, I still like it, but this trailer just wasn't anything new. But that's fine. Honestly, in a lot of ways, this trailer was better than the first two. It showed more characters than the first two, and it had some good action, because even those few seconds of Cyclops shooting off his optic blasts was really cool, and more action than the first two trailers. Plus, the tease of the Sentinel foot in the background was really fun. Also, I really appreciated the voiceover by Charles Xavier in this trailer. His line, "Death comes for us all," is super foreboding, and I definitely think it hints at a sad end to this universe. But also, the way it ended with, "Who will you be when you close your eyes?" leading into Cyclops ripping off his visor and quite literally opening his eyes as wide as they can go, was such a fun juxtaposition of words and actions. Next, I appreciated the way this trailer starts, with all these camera shots of the X-Mansion in disrepair. It was quite melancholy to see the Xavier Institute for Gifted Youngsters sign fallen down. The classic wheelchairs are fun to see again. Also, the X-Men patch on Charles Xavier's shirt was really cool to see. Very much harkens back to the 90s show where he occasionally wore a cargo-type outfit. And the last thing I'd like to say is that I appreciate that they're leaning into the fact that Charles and Eric are old. Like, they're not trying to hide their wrinkles. They definitely gave Ian McKellen more white hair and a wig as Magneto. And I love that. I'm glad that we're not going to de-age them and try to pretend as if they're younger, albeit still kind of old selves. So in summation, while this trailer was fun, for those of us who have seen the Chair trailer, it wasn't really anything surprising. By the way, quick aside here, if you don't know what I'm talking about when I say chair trailer, it is the trailer in which Marvel showed off a bunch of chairs that are typically seen on sets with the names of the actor or actress on the back, hinting at the cast of Avengers Doomsday and the scope of that movie. It was a very fun trailer. It was released a few months ago, back in 2025. So if you haven't seen it, I'll leave a link down to that as well below. And it kind of gives you a hint as to how many characters are in this movie. And so for those of us who have seen that, a lot of these character reveals are nothing new to us. But I could understand how someone who hadn't seen that trailer would be very excited by trailer number 3 because they didn't know the X-Men were going to be in this film. And so to see Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen back as Magneto and Charles Xavier, respectively, would be very, very exciting. Yeah, the chair trailer is kind of important. Go watch it if you haven't already. And finally, let's talk about trailer number 4. Like the last trailer, if you'd seen the Chair trailer, there wasn't that much exciting or unexpected about this trailer. We all knew that Shuri, M'Baku, Ben Grimm, and Namor were going to come back in this movie. But that's not to say I didn't like this trailer. I really liked seeing Ben Grimm meet M'Baku and Shuri. It harkened back to all the fun little Marvel meetups that happened in Infinity War. And I know that Infinity War gets mocked for the number of jokes they made surrounding people's names and people greeting each other, but I personally loved it, and I think it was a fun way to show off those characters' personalities. So I'm excited we'll get more of those interactions in this movie. Next, the scenes with Namor and the city of Talokan were a little separated from the rest of the trailer, but I appreciated the inclusion since Namor made his debut in Wakanda Forever, so it works. I thought it was interesting to see the city of Talokan losing its water. I don't know if that means the city is coming up to the surface or if the water is just being drained off the earth in the first place, but either way, I think it's a good way to bring Namor into the story since his typical typical outlook on life is, if it doesn't concern Talokan, it doesn't concern me. And Namor's a really cool character that I'm excited to see more of and get more screen time in this film and hopefully more development in the MCU at large. Real quick, vanilla nerd from the future, one thing I forgot to mention is that I really like that this trailer confirmed that M'Baku is serving as King of Wakanda, whereas Shuri functions as the Black Panther. It's cool that there's that separation of power. It's really interesting. It's been hinted at that that's possible in the past, but of course, T'Challa served as both Black Panther and King of Wakanda, and so did his father T'Chaka. But it's cool that Shuri's not taking on all that responsibility. And what I really like about this is just how far the character of M'Baku has come. At the beginning of Black Panther, he was very much this antagonistic character who just wanted to be king and was kind of boastful and annoying. But now he's like a king that we can all support and get behind. We all like him. We're all happy for him. And this is just really cool, especially coming from the comics, where he's this really one-dimensional villain known as the White Ape, and he's not interesting. He's not fun. And so I really like how they've changed his character and adapted him for the MCU. And this is especially appreciated since at the end of Black Panther Wakanda Forever, he steps off a plane and he says, "I will be king of Wakanda," but it's not really made clear. It was definitely played for a joke, like we thought it was going to be Shuri, but then it turned out to be him. And then when they didn't elaborate any further, we all just kind of assumed, okay, he's going to be king and she's going to be Black Panther, right? And so it was really nice that this trailer confirmed that and made that clear, because it was definitely unclear by the end of Black Panther Wakanda Forever, at least in my opinion. But I digress. Lastly, we have the voiceover by Shuri. At first, I didn't like this since it was just kind of a repeat of information we already knew, like, yeah, we get it, your whole family is dead and you're really sad. But on second thought, I realized that what she's really saying here is foreshadowing of what's to come. I absolutely believe that she is going to see multiversal variants of her family. Like, we know this is a multiverse story, and in order to make a high concept story like that work, you need to have personal stakes. So giving Shuri her brother back in some way, shape, or form would be pretty powerful. And it would make this line of hers make a lot of sense. She's reminding the audience of what she's lost in preparation for what she's about to potentially gain. Plus, not for nothing, but there have been numerous rumors about T'Challa being recast. I don't know who the current favorite to play him is, nor do I care to dig deeper into those rumors, because honestly, I don't want any plot leaks or anything. But I will simply say that I am very open to the idea of recasting T'Challa, because I think there's a lot more stories to tell with that character, despite the unfortunate passing of Chadwick Boseman, may he rest in peace, who embodied that character so perfectly. So while I don't envy that actor who has to take on the responsibility of reinterpreting T'Challa, I do think it's possible to recast T'Challa properly and tastefully. And one way to do that is by bringing in a multiversal variant, so that any differences between the two interpretations of these characters can be chalked up to, well, he's from a different universe, you know? So, in conclusion, I really liked all four of these trailers. They were a lot of fun, and even though they didn't have like the most exciting visuals or the most exciting character reveals all the time, I think Chris Evans was pretty exciting character reveal, and the X-Men were probably pretty exciting for those who hadn't seen the Chair trailer. Regardless, I think these trailers were really good, and they got me excited for Avengers Doomsday, which is ultimately what a trailer needs to do. So if it accomplished that, I think it's winning in my book. That being said, I am excited to talk about what these trailers mean for the movie at large, and I'll get into that in my next video. But for now, I want to hear your thoughts. What did you guys like about these trailers? What did you not like? Are you excited for Avengers Doomsday? Are you not? Leave all your comments down below.